Hi, and welcome back to A Life of Compounding Interest. Thanks for clicking on the video. I do hope that you stick around and it at least gives you something to think about and you receive some value from this video. But I'm going to start it off with a question. If today we were able to pull everything that you've done online, we probably can, by the way, but we pulled everything that you do online from your work to the alternate account that you use to comment on things, everything. Is that an agent or a consciousness that you would want to talk to? Would it be useful? And would it be an accurate representation of you? So I've talked to quite a number of people just about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and how I'm going about it. And I've said it before, most of what I'm doing right now is more or less just to freeze where my thoughts are at this point in time, give the young people in and around me a place that they can go to, because oftentimes when we're young and we have questions, we don't ask them. And sometimes when we go to ask them, it's too late. And so that's one of the driving factors behind why I'm doing this. But I was telling this to a friend and somebody who I would consider to be a mentor, very tech savvy and done great things in the tech space. And as I'm going through all of this, you could see the wheels were turning in his head, and his response was, "Man, that's awesome. Maybe I should consider doing that." Because just imagine, like a Black Mirror episode, you can create an AI version of yourself. Your kids, your grandkids, or your great grandkids could go and they can ask you questions and have a conversation with you to see what you think and how you might approach some of the problems that they're having. Now, I don't love that idea. I don't love that idea at all. I think there is something deeply poetic in death around the human experience. I think that how we tell stories about the people that have gone before us and that are no longer here really do create a lot of value and meaning in people's lives. And the other thing about it is when people talk about you after you're gone, you no longer control the narrative. It is simply a reflection of the impact that you had on them, positive, negative, or indifferent. You don't control that narrative anymore. Now, in a world as technologically connected as we are, we don't control our own narrative very much after words leave our mouth or a post goes live. No, because the internet collects all of these things, and like it or not, it's building your consciousness behind the scenes because it wants to know what you're going to say or do next, how to make you buy something, what interests you, who you are. And the real question is that actually accurate? And so really what that question did for me was it made me double down on what I think is my mission and purpose with all of this. It's not so somebody can go back and ask me questions 50, 100 years down the road. It's so that if they do, they're actually getting something useful from me, that they actually get a chance to know who I am. So everything that I put out, I don't use AI for anything other than, images, because I'm not a graphics designer. If you just look at any of my backgrounds or lack of editing, you'll see that right away. And don't get me started on people don't read things unless it has a picture. But I don't use AI for the writing. I don't really edit any of this content that I'm putting out right now. And I really do think about the words that I say. Do I believe them? Do I think that they are useful to those great grandkids of mine if they were to channel an AI version of me? Am I consistent? And if not, am I showing how my mind has changed? Because it will. And so when I write things, I'm writing from a place of just pure honesty. It is my personality, it is my thoughts, and they don't agree with everybody, and that's wonderful. That's amazing. I'm so glad that some thoughts that I have people disagree with. But the important thing is that I continue, if I'm going to be online, if a version of me is going to be created, whether I have say in it or not, why not at least make it the best version possible? That changes the way that I interact in comments online. It changes the way I obviously write and talk on here and what I publish, but it changes what topics I want to talk about. And it's probably why I don't stay super consistent, because I really do believe that all of us have this set of wisdom that we possess. And our wisdom is the knowledge that we chose to chase and accumulate, and our experiences, how we saw those outcomes come to life. That's our wisdom. And my wisdom is not going to be the same wisdom as anyone else's, because they don't have my experience. They didn't read what I read. They might have some of the same base knowledge, but when you put everything together, my wisdom is going to be different than someone else's. And we all have wisdom. We can question how wise it actually is, but you have your own set of wisdom, knowledge plus experience, seeing outcomes happen. So that's also why everything that I do on this channel, in my writing, it's not advice. Sometimes it may come across that way. It may have that tone that it's advice. It's not advice. Most of the time, I'm not qualified to offer advice. I'm not a certified financial planner. I'm not, I don't have kids that have gone through their entire life at this point. No. And I've still got a lot of life ahead of me. There's a lot of experiences that are down the road for me that I don't get to experience yet. But my wisdom, where it is right now, leads me just to want to talk about it. And when I see problems in society, whether it's on a big scale or a micro scale, I do think some of it needs a little bit of attention, and hearing different opinions and different thoughts from a different perspective, as long as they are actually well intentioned, is the best thing that we can do to develop ourselves. So, no, what I'm talking about here is not advice. It's just a person's perspective. I don't want anybody to come in and follow exactly anything that I say, not even my great grandkids. What I do want is for people to hear a different perspective from a good intention standpoint, and just think about it for a second. If you have a deeply held belief and something logical or reasonable comes into frame, be able to think about it a little bit more. And all of this is me trying to do what I think is my part in making my small corner of the world just a little bit better. I don't get to change the world. I mean, I probably won't have any following. I probably won't sell a million books or anything like that. And that was never the point. Now, look, if I do happen to gain a large following and I'm able to, make a little bit of money out of this endeavor through selling books, through having a following, hey, that's great. That's awesome. I'll try to do the very best I can with it. But none of this is to get rich. I did a video just last week about the lottery and thinking about how that kind of money would change you. And if you think about how that money could change you enough, then you start to live the life that you want to live regardless of how much money you have. And this is the exact same thing. If this was a full-time job, it wouldn't change my opinions. It might change the quality of the work. It might change the amount of time that I have to put into it, but it doesn't change the mission behind it. It doesn't change who I am, because what I don't want is for that future algorithmic version of myself to be tainted with things that I don't believe, things that I don't support, things that I don't think are good for the people that I care about. And I think that's been the hardest part of this entire journey. Because when you're actually thinking that far ahead and everything that you write, you read back through that lens of how your grandkids might actually see this information. Does it stand the test of time? Is it actually well intended? Because we say stuff and we do things all the time that may not be well intended. And it's natural. And it's just a little bit of selfish human nature that gets baked in there, a lot of ego that comes into play, and a desire to put our individual self out there. There's nothing wrong with it. But this project for me has radically changed the way that I keep those things in check. It's not just my writing. Over the last year, it's changed the way that I interact with people. I don't say things that I don't really mean or don't want somebody to bring back to me later. I always talk about, if somebody doesn't agree with the things that I say, that's awesome. That means that, you've thought about it and you listened enough and you still don't agree. That's fine. I don't want people to agree with me on everything, because chances are I'm probably not right. Chances are you probably aren't either. But engaging those pieces of critical thought are honestly one of the biggest compliments that you could give me. That you thought critically about something that I said and you came up with an opinion that hopefully is your own. So I've encouraged many people to write their own story or change the way that they interact with online, because just imagine, it's like that tattoo that just didn't age well that you can't get off of you. Are you doing something that your future self is going to actually benefit from? Or are you going to look back at it with a bit of shame? And I'm trying to avoid as many regrets as possible in life. And I always have. And I plan on continuing that. And this, for me, is putting that initiative into motion. So tell me what you think. Does it even matter? If somebody pulled your algorithm today and it was a bunch of TikTok dances and rude comments, does that have any bearing on how you think about your future self, your online self, or what it says about you? Is this just more deep than it deserves? But either way, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for just listening to the general conversations. If you like this kind of content and it interests you at all, please like, subscribe, comment below. Every little bit does help. I would like to keep doing this as long as I possibly can. And I am trying to make the algorithms see me so this content gets out. So thank you so much for your time. thank you for your comments. And I really do hope that I can see you again in the next one. Until then, take care. Cheers.